Moving on to two teams that are probably grateful for a bit of a break, and that's European adventurers, West Ham and Newcastle. So a 2-2 game that was really entertaining, but I think you could tell Newcastle were drained, couldn't you, from their exploits against Paris Saint-Germain, which we haven't even talked about really, but that was an outstanding performance from them in Europe, wasn't it? But this game, Eddie Howe has admitted that there was a definite kind of physical hangover from that. So how much can we read into a result like this, Miles? Can we put it down to two teams literally that are quite good at scoring goals and quite attacking teams, or is it just two quite tired teams who have been on a very busy, if successful, week in Europe?
I think you can read quite a lot into that, with that still being the case, to be honest, because when we were looking at our season predictions, one of the first things I said to you was, I wonder how Newcastle balance European football and the Premier League, and I see them dropping out of the top four this year because of that factor. And this is a perfect example of that, because although they then went on and got some good results at the start of the league, as soon as the Champions League got tough for them, we saw their lack of depth. They made one change for this game from the PSG game, and they just looked emotionally drained. Yeah. And you still have the quality of someone like Alexander Isak and Kieran Trippier to kind of carry you through a game to a degree. But realistically, if Newcastle are trying to get back into the top four this year or higher, then they should win this game. But West Ham, let's give them some credit. They've been fantastic so far. Yeah. And it quietly have gone about assembling a really, really good squad. Like you look at that West Ham team, how many of them would get into the Newcastle team? More than I think people would kind of think off the top of their head without looking at it. All of a sudden, like, there's some real quality in that team. Like, Paqueta's obviously really well blooded in now. Ward-Prowse has been excellent. They've seen Jarrod Bowen get back into the England setup. He's been fantastic recently. And then they've still got players that they're yet to integrate. I'm sure we'll talk about one of them in a moment because he managed to get himself on the score sheet. But these are two really good teams right now who are on the ascendancy, and Newcastle can be forgiven for not quite putting 100% out in this game because, look, I don't want to be a product of the sports washing and get involved with Newcastle too much, but I felt like a Newcastle fan watching that game. It was so good to watch. It was thrilling. It was such a good performance. And if we take the ownership aside for a second, because, and I suppose that's difficult to do because that is exactly what they want us to do, but acknowledge it for what it is, seeing local Newcastle lads and fans score goals against PSG and seeing Mbappe sulk. If you can root for Newcastle against anyone, PSG is definitely the team you want to see them batter. So that was nice to watch, I'll be honest. And you actually do applaud Eddie Howe and the boys for like how they've grown. But it just felt like the Premier League came too soon for them this weekend.
I thought the game was really entertaining for a neutral. I really enjoyed the goals. I thought they were all really well taken. But another flashpoint worth talking about, Dave, Bruno Guimaraes as well. Similar situation to Kovacic. 2 yellow cards, potentially. Should he have gone?
It seems so, doesn't it? I mean, I can't really understand why he wasn't given the second yellow. Another strange decision, or a decision not made.
Really late tackle, that second one, wasn't it?
Yeah, but nothing we're not used to, is it? You know, we're talking about this every single game. It seems like there's a contentious decision. For me, I think it's a good point for Newcastle. I think really going away to West Ham and how well they've done this season, I don't think they can, really complain, especially obviously with all the effort, and I think the emotional sort of exhaustion that they've suffered from that game in midweek and how much they put in. I mean, that atmosphere was enough to drain anyone, really. It was exhausting just to watch.